Hi, I'm Conny, and this is From Chaos to Peace with Conny, where I explore, sometimes solo and often with a guest, how a few minutes a day can keep the chaos away. And with chaos, I'm talking about the physical, digital, social, financial, mental, emotional, and spiritual clutter that can accumulate in our life. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome. How are you doing? Thank you so much for allowing me back into your ears. This is episode number 127 of the From Chaos to Peace podcast, where a few minutes a day keep the chaos away and where you learn how clutter is so much more than you think. If you listened for a while to my podcast, you heard me say many times that we all have some clutter, other than maybe the Buddhist monks up in the Himalayan monasteries. But having some clutter is being human. And today I want to talk about a kind of clutter that I actually struggle with, and that is information clutter, and specifically just in case information. So, just in case information is any information we are accumulating just in case we will need it one day. This is similar as if you keep physical items in your home that you never use, but you can't give them away because what if you will need them one day? This is a scarcity mindset, and I might not struggle in this way with physical items and don't create physical clutter, but I sure create a lot of information clutter, I noticed recently. When I did the Strength Finder test by Gallup, my top strengths were learner, the second intellection, and the third input. In my report, under learner, it is stated, people who are especially talented in the learner theme have a great desire to learn and want to continuously improve. In particular, the process of learning rather than the outcome excites them. And under input, I can read, people who are especially talented in the input theme have a craving to know more. Often they like to collect and archive all kinds of information. Well, they couldn't have said it better. The process of learning rather than the outcome excites me. That's me, and I often joke, if I could get paid for learning, I would be a multimillionaire. So to say that I'm like a sponge when it comes to information and learning sounds accurate, and I often am also proud of it. It's something I like about myself, that I always want to learn and know more. But I recently really realized that it's also taking a toll on me, that too much information is clutter, and that a lot of information I have in my life did become clutter. Let's review real quick the categories of clutter. There are 4 categories. 1. Things you don't use or don't love. Things that are untidy or disorganized. Too many things in too small of a space, and anything unfinished. And I realized that my information clutter checks at least 3 out of the 4. I have information that I love but don't use, and we get to why I don't use it in a bit. I have too much information in my small brain, for sure. And I have a lot of unfinished information, meaning information I have done nothing with yet, which goes with the first point. I love it, but I don't use it. Most information I have is tidy and organized, but it's still clutter because one of my mentors once said to me, you can't organize clutter. So even though I'm really organized with all the information I have, it's clutter if I don't use it. If I accumulate it just in case rather than just in time, it is clutter. Like with any clutter, my information clutter is costing me a lot of time and energy and, yes, money. But it's also costing me focus and most likely success. But you might still be a bit confused by what I mean with information clutter. So here are a few examples. When we sign up for lots and lots of email newsletters and read all the emails but don't use the information from them, then it's information clutter. just to clarify, if you sign up for the email newsletters and don't read the emails, then it's mostly digital clutter. If you print out all the emails to read them later, and I say that because I once had a client who did that. So if you print them all out and pile them up to read them later, then we're also creating a lot of paper clutter. But if we read the emails but don't do anything with it, then it's information clutter. Another example, when we read a lot of blog posts, articles, and books without doing anything with the information we learn, then it's information clutter. When we are outlining a project and are watching YouTube videos or reading books and blog posts about it, to learn all the steps that are involved, and we're planning, but without putting anything into action, and then we move on to another project and do the same, that is information clutter. When we read books and ebooks on topics that have no relevance for us yet, but we feel we need to know the information ahead of time, to be prepared, to know what's coming, or whatever, this is information clutter. When we are signing up for online courses and programs out of fear of missing out, the famous FOMO, even though we are not at a point in our business where we actually need that program or information, that is also information clutter. And it's most likely also digital clutter if you never start or finish the online course or online program. Those are a few examples, and yes, I have done most of those to some extent in the past few years, and I catch myself still doing some of it now. So why is that a bad thing anyways? Well, first, filling our brain with information that is not relevant to what we want and need to do right now leaves no time, energy, focus, and brain space for the things that we need to do or know. Second, it's all passive and not active or creative. We're using all of our time and energy for consuming instead of producing and creating. We're trying to fill an already full glass with more. It overflows already, but we're just filling in more and more and more without using any of it. Third, once we are ready to take action, we will need to read that book or blog post again, or we need to go through that online course again, because we were not able to retain the information. So we need to invest time and energy again a second time. Hopefully this time we are really taking action. Fourth, depending on how much time has passed, the information might not be relevant anymore once we are ready to take action, and we have to spend more money, energy, and time to obtain the updated information. Fifth, we complain that we have no time, but we spend the time we do have on information that we don't need or use yet, which in turn makes it even more true that we have not enough time. And the sad part is, this all keeps us from doing what we really want and need to do. Information clutter drains our energy, fills up our mental space, robs us of time that we could have used to produce or create something, or we could have spent it with family and friends and having fun. It also takes up digital space on our computer and phones, and it costs us money that we may or may not have. But most of all, it could be wasted time, because unless we are applying what we're learning or reading, we will forget it fairly quickly again. We might just understand the information for a short time while we are reading it, but we never get to the point where we know it. Knowing something only happens when we take action. Then we know it. Then it's not just mental, but also embodied. We know it in our bones and in our cells. That's the kind of clutter I struggle with, information clutter. I love to read and I love to learn, and I read only nonfiction. I read so many interesting books, business books and self-development books, and I have tons of ideas while I'm reading these on how I want to implement what I learned either in my life or in my business. But because I'm such an information junkie, I often don't get to the implementation phase because I'm already reading the next book. In fact, I often read more than one book at the same time. If you can see yourself in this too, buying and reading books, buying and going through online courses, but then not implementing what you've learned, I see you. It's hard these days as we are bombarded with information. Daily, new interesting books are being published and new courses are launched, and we are all experiencing FOMO if we don't jump on the hype. But one thing I noticed for myself and my clients is also there is another reason why we want to read more and learn more, and that is we procrastinate with it because it feels scary to do what we would need to do. So we rather tell ourselves we need to read more and learn more first. This again fills our brain up. It uses a lot of our energy. It uses our limited time, and it uses up our finances. It actually takes a double hit on the finances because we spend money on things we don't really need yet. And while doing that, we are not doing revenue generating activities or creating and producing something that we can sell later. This is like when people keep things they don't love and don't use, just in case, rather than making space for the things they would love and use. It's a scarcity mentality, and this learning just in case is also scarcity mentality. But what we actually need to really be scared of is wasting time, energy, and money on things just in case. So I have 3 tips for you on how to handle information clutter if you can relate to what I'm sharing here. These are the 3 things that I'm trying out right now. The first tip is just-in-time learning, meaning only allowing myself to read or learn about the things that I am in the process of doing right now. That is relevant to me and my projects right now. That is necessary in order to take the next step to complete a project. This is just-in-time learning versus just-in-case learning. It is hard. As I said, this is the clutter I struggle with, and that I recently realized how it is holding me back and keeping me stuck. Now, we can't just go cold turkey from one extreme to the other. That's why I teach my clients the 3 principles of successful decluttering and say over and over, a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away. And this is where the second tip comes in. And the second tip I actually heard on an episode from Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income podcast, and I think he learned it from someone else, but I forgot who he said he learned it from. Oops, so sorry. But anyways, so this is not my idea, but it fits well with my philosophy of doing things, and that is the 20% itch rule. Allowing yourself the freedom to use 20% of your time to explore and experiment with new things. 20% of time to read books and articles that have nothing to do with what I'm working on. Maybe even spend 20% of my continuous learning budget on courses and books that are just in case information. The 20% I feel might need to be adjusted to your personal circumstances. So it could be that you start with 50% and you work your way down to the 20%. Or you realize you really have limited time and or limited finances. So you go down to 10% quite quick. The third tip is to make a rule for yourself that you are only allowed to read some just-in-case information once you took a certain amount of action with the information you already have and worked to move a project forward. Now, I can't tell you how much action you need to take. You can negotiate that with yourself. But I guess, just like I said, we need to train our decluttering muscle when I help my clients. Here it's helpful too to not bite off too much, but to start small, collect some wins, do a few minutes a day, which in the end will change our life and reduce our clutter. Okay, a quick summary of the tips. Tip 1. Focus on just-in-time learning and be on to yourself with the just-in-case learning. Tip 2. Allow yourself a certain percentage of just-in-case learning, like for example 20%. Tip 3. Bargain with yourself and say you can learn just-in-case stuff once you have taken action on the information you know already and have moved a project forward. As always, I will never tell you to get rid of anything, not even your information clutter. What I do help you to see is the effects all this clutter has on you and your life. And trust me, information clutter is also draining us and keeping us stuck. Okay, my friend, that's it for today. Have a beautiful and amazing week, and talk to you next time. Take good care and be safe. If you enjoyed this podcast episode and you want to go on a journey from chaos to peace in your home, office, and finances with me as your guide, opportunities to work with me one-on-one are available. Go to connygraf.com, CONNYGRAF.com to schedule your own personal Clutter to Clarity chat. And we will see if working together is a great fit. That is connygraf.com, CONNYGRAF.com.